So I wanted to point out to you guys that people are waking up to this and they're starting to understand what's going on and what has been going on in our history. Like I said, I can't tell you exactly what happened with their history, but I can show you through photographs and time in history by placing things. Like I said, when you figure this out and you understand what I'm talking about, you're going to understand the tree growth, stuff like that. And trees represent a lot of things, peoples, kingdoms, so forth. Just to give you guys an idea, especially to God, they are huge representations. So, how are we going to find the lies in all of this? Well, let's just continue to do a little research in history. Okay, so I kind of went over this and it talked about, historical, what they had accomplished. And then this is going to be my golden ticket to prove history, is this tell of time. So, now I want to show you guys, if you don't think that time's been reset, I want to show you this picture real quick. This would have been Max Lumberyard, northwest corner of Main and 6th Street. Let's go ahead and open that up. And then let's open up the... Okay, so I messed up. I didn't have it set up right. But I want you to take a look at this. And this is down on Canyon City. And it's on the corner of 6th. I want you to take a good look at the building. And then you can come back to these later and look at them. And I want you guys to notice the tree growth. So these trees have easily been here for 20 to 30 years by the size of them. And so when I tell you that we've had resets before, you come to this one, it's the same thing, except for this one's about 1885. And if you look at this one, it's the same trees, except for a lot older. And then you go back to this one, you can actually see the tree. So like I said, when you guys time in an instant and to show you guys that they've had resets before, I'm not kidding. I'm able to prove this without, and I'm willing to prove it in front of anybody. So I'm going to go over these pictures and I'm going to start going over Colorado or Canyon City. Sorry, I am not the guy for this. I wasn't intentionally, but for whatever reason, God has said, you know what, you're the one that gets it, so I'm going to stick you up front so you can explain to the world that our history is definitely not what they have taught us. Now, I want you to think about when you're coming into places like Canyon City in Colorado, there's nothing available. And you have to think about, when did they get electricity? When did they do plumbing? When did they do fire hydrants? All that stuff plays a major importance into this, because that tells us our history and the time frame that we're working with. And I could tell you right now, Colorado, all of the Colorado cities had electricity before 1890, and they were running light bulbs. So how's that even possible? And that's where I'm going to show you the hiccups in history. So let's start going through these. If you guys go to my drive, I hate to keep going over this 100 times, but if anyone's new and they're wondering about this, please go do your research. And there's so much. So if you go into Canyon City, um, and I have two drives, and they're both shared to this account, so feel free. They're just photographs. That's all that's in there. There's nothing to harm computers. And so if you come into here, I'm going to show you pictures, and I'm going to show you back-to-back pictures. This is of Canyon City, one of the earliest that I can find, except for now you can see that they have a prison and a couple more buildings built. In this original one, like I said, they haven't even built the prison, and we have to go back to the timeline of the prison. And this is going to be the territorial facility opened in 1871, and it became part of the state's penal system in 1876. And then 1884, original walls of the state penitentiary completed with convict later. So basically, by 1884, they had made a perimeter. Okay, so let's start tearing this apart and showing you guys the deception in history. Now, all the photographs you will get from here, but it's easier for me to go through on my drive because there's only so much I can blow up. And history with historical buildings like this mill is very important. So let's start dissecting that, and we'll go through some of Canyon City's history of lies. Okay, so if you go into my drive, you're going to come to a file. It's going to be under early pictures, Canyon City time change. And these were actually, I have the photographs to show you the difference in time. So we're going to blow this up and we're going to remember dates. So Maybe we should go back and rewrite those down or take another look at exactly when the dates are. So that way there's no confusion on this. Okay, so now we're at the history, and we're going to say 18 to 1884. And that is, what do you got? Let's do the calculator so everyone really understands this. Like time, there's no way they could have built what they did in the time frame. It's absolutely impossible. And when you break it down and you start actually physically looking at it. So if you have 1871 minus 1884, 13 years. Okay, 13 years. And we're going to go through this and I'm going to show you what 13 years actually really looks like with the once you see it, this will become so evident to you, then you'll be able to rip it apart in every place you go. All right, so let's start tearing these apart. So 1871, this was completed, and if you go through my files, there's a little bit of a story about the first inmate escaping and that they started building the perimeter wall. And actually, let's go to that. Okay, so if we go back and we do some more research on history, what we're reading, the first place the territorial prison opened up in 1871 was built on 25 acres. And so the one that I want to tell you is where I'm going to show you where Colorado embezzled money. According to older articles, to escape was on December 1871, and he did so simply by walking off the grounds, resulting in a public outcry for more security. The administration obtained money from some lumber, and the inmates were put to work building a wooden wall to help deter more escapes. Okay, so let's really recap on that. The administration obtained money for some lumber. Where do you think they got that money from? It's from us taxpayers. Okay, so I really wanted to give you guys that little history lesson to really put this together. And like I said, this is one of the later ones that I can find, and I see a wooden building, but I don't see a wooden fence. So yeah, Colorado, yeah, Department of Embezzlement. And really, when you work for them and you understand what they are, it's definitely a corrupt organization, just as like as any. Okay, so remember the first photograph where I showed you all of the river was flowing all the way over here? It looks like they've been doing some rerouting of the river, and you could see trees, but there's hardly any tree growth except for right here. And so if we do go back to that earlier picture, just to really help clarify that, let's see. This one right here. Okay, we go back in here. Like I said, the river is huge wide. There's no milling or mill plant for flour. And yeah, and you could see back in here just this nothing vastness of Colorado with no trees, no real lumber to build from except for along the river. That's it. And so I could show you the global warming is a fucking lie like nobody's business with these historical pictures, because we have more plant growth now than we did back then. Okay, so moving on before I have a fucking conniption fit about retardism. Let's move on. Okay, so we got side by side on this one again where you can see it. And you can see this is probably one of the original oldest buildings. This one right here, along with a couple other that are down here. Now this building right here is the one I want to show you. This was actually the Rockefeller House, supposedly. This is one of the first settlers into Canyon City. And then I want to remind you that inmates dug all of this ditching to go through all through Canyon City in order to do the irrigation for the farms that they had, supposedly. And this is all done in record time. And you remember you have to go through Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, minimum Pueblo just to get to Canyon City. So like I said, time, and you're going to see it. Okay, so two pictures. You could see where they started adding more stuff. And you could see more buildings have came in. So we're not talking a huge amount of time. Some of the tree growth, it's kind of in winter, so you can't see it. You can see a little shack built right here, and then you can see the mill. In the mill, there's no shack built yet. So, and the river's still kind of gone really wild right here. So they gotta fix that. And then you got the prison right here that was built in 1871. 1872, they embezzled the wood to build this shack instead of actually building the fence. Okay, so you can see in this photograph right here in the back, you got Canyon City State Prison. CSP, Old Max is what they like to call it. And it's really interesting how that came about with territorial prisons. So when you look at our history, I'm telling you, it is very, very distorted. And then you could see this building right here with all this different kind of block in it. This is taken out of the quarry that they had. They said that inmates did this, basically built this prison. They busted up all the rock, built the prison, and then supposedly kept running the quarry. But we only have so much time. And I want you to look, there's no tree growth here at all. Like none, absolutely none. None. Okay. Here's another one. This is me trying to like get you guys to understand like time and placement. Now we have another picture, and this is still way earlier because there's supposed to be a school that goes right here. And you can see where they've actually built around the perimeter fence just magically. And you can see this house right here, which is the Rockefellers, and you can see the massive tree growth now. So time has passed. So what are we talking here in 10, 15 years? 20 years? I mean, that's a lot of tree growth. 30 years? I mean, so let's continue and I'll show you the loopholes because you can't unsee it. So like I said, this one, you're going to see all of these pictures. I have to go back and I have to kind of organize these to put them in order so that way you can see the time. But now we got a house right here and we got all this. You could still see the residents, but this is still probably well before the 1900s. And I'll show you why. Here's one back to back. You don't see the house yet, and you see the house in this picture. And I found this. I'm going to have to go through and make a special video on this, but I don't know when or where this became a tradition where they started making designs in the roof with what they were laying out. So this house has been reshingled at least 3 times. Most roofs add about 30 years is before you need to reshingle them. And that's the thing. They built these houses way better than we build today. So if you're starting to see it and understand what I'm trying to tell you is that there's no way. And this is an earlier picture. This might be around 1920. And you can see the train. You can see this massive forest that has grown now all over Canyon City. Okay. One of the earlier ones too, where you can see. Now they got the school built right here. Massive school that was just built right there. And then I don't know what this was. This was some kind of turntable for the train. I don't know, but some kind of like oven or something. Maybe it's a kiln. But then you can see the little guard shack, and they haven't even put in the towers yet. And they did put one in here. And remind you, this extends all the way to the governor's mansion or the warden at the time. So there's still a lot of history. And when you see it, you're going to be like, how did I not see this? Okay, so we have another picture of Canyon in a different time. You can see that original house they built onto it. You can see the tree growth. You can still see the mansion or the house of the Rockefellers. You can see where they have a couple of tents, and you can see where they've started building territorial prison. Okay, here's the earliest ones I can find. So now we're starting to get back in time where I can prove that so much time has passed. So this is supposed to be anywhere after 1971. This picture right here, you can see that they actually added on another little part to the guard shack. You can see it right here. You can see it protruding right here with the window in it. And then you see this house right here. The one with the crazy design. This is what this house started off first, and you can see where the river ran next to it. And the trees in front, and the wall. So they started building this wall right after the escape. Well, when was that escape? Let's go back and look at history. According to the article, the first convict to escape was in 1871 in March. And then they built another one. And it's really interesting when you start going through this. I have to go through and mark all this up. I'm just trying to get the information out to everybody just so they can see it and start putting this together so we can bring it into this. And, I mean, really show people the lies. Because think about tree growth right here. Think about how long it took them to build this wall. And we'll go back 1 or 2, actually. Maybe 3, maybe 4. And then, bam, this one, that house. and just like that wall and everything. And they still ain't even, this isn't till the 1900s because they haven't expanded CSP that much yet, which is called Colorado Territorial Prison now. All right, so let's continue, and you can see this. I want you to really look at this again. Trees right here. So these trees are probably what, 10 years old? Maybe five or 10 years old. And you got them starting to build the prison wall. Okay, the one back to back to show you guys the craziness of it. Look at all this tree growth and everything. And like I said, you could tell that this ain't even fully finished because they haven't even built the governor's mansion or the warden's mansion right here on the end of it. And you can still see the Rockefeller's house. So if we zoom back out, like I said, tree growth, everything. I mean, when you look at this, you're going to realize that there's no way they built all of this in 20 to 30 years. It's just impossible, especially with tree growth. And that's the other thing. You have Colorado. Let's pull that up. Okay. You have every city in Colorado at 1870, all of it, mountain towns, everything. Everything started coming alive when they got CF&I up and running, 578, 80, somewhere around there, I believe 80s when it came online. And they started making rail. And then that's when they were supposedly going through all the mountain towns and building rail to them. Other than that, before then, it was four-wheeling in a horse and wagon, and if you needed hamburger, you just let the wagon get out of control and, yeah, just mowed over your horses and you got some free hamburger. Okay, so here, one of the earliest pictures too. Now you can see an alteration to this too. You see this house, and let's go back. Did I go too far? I went too far. Let's go back. Sorry about that. Look at this. This place has a lot of room, and then all of a sudden it's like annexed right here. And so, like I said, there's the time to do all this stuff. And then like this, when did they start using this crazy roof pattern? I have been around construction my whole life, and I never seen anything like this until I started looking at these. And it's in Colorado. I don't know if it's anywhere else in the United States that it caught on, but it's in Colorado. And the time frame would tell you when this was. And this roof probably lasted 20 years minimum. And there you go, side by side with them building the walls and the prison and the little house right there. This one was actually of Denver, and this is to show you guys the crazy roof patterns. This was one of them. I have to go digging again. I thought I saved them, but I guess I didn't. And you have to think about these magnificent houses that they built at turn of the century with hand tools in record time. And then, like I said, look at tree growth. Once you look at tree growth, you're gonna understand this. Okay, beginning. Let's go back one just so you guys can see the difference in time. So this was at the beginning of supposedly 1860 something. Because in 1871, they built the prison. We don't even have them building the foundation yet for the prison. So 1865, I don't know. And that's the crazy thing. If this is 1865, I can tell you that people have been living here for at least 10 to 15 years just by the amount of infrastructure they already got in. Especially if they had to dig these ditches in order to water the crops and stuff. I mean, come on, people, use common sense. Okay, here's back to back of what this would have looked like at the time. You know, here's the prison. You can see it back over here. Okay, and we'll draw this one out so you guys can really understand it. Prison is right here. This is the second building that must have been said, and then this is that little guard shack. So we'll pull out of that, and here's that little guard shack right there. See it in the background? Boom. And so this is probably the earliest of Canyon City that you'll see, but now you'll see there's some tree growth and stuff. And then this picture, there's absolutely no tree growth, like a barren waste. That's the other thing. When I started looking at all this history, the earlier photographs of the United States look like a barren wasteland. They just built these magnificent palaces out of the middle of nowhere with nothing around. Not even weeds. All right, so let's speed this up. And like I said, roof change here again. And I don't know when year this is, but this is definitely when they completed, looks like most of the wall. They can they built a couple more facilities, and the governor's mansion is in. So this could be 1920 because they built this mansion in 1900. And then obviously we got a new roof, and they'd also remodeled the house. And yeah, I mean it's I mean, you go from this house to this house within 20 years is absolutely insane, and especially with the crazy roof. And somehow before the turn of the century, you get the roof replaced so it looks like a normal fucking roof. And here you go, back to back again. There we go. There's a crazy roof, and you could tell the original house, I believe, is this right, or this one right here. Or was, no, I think it was this one because it's got the fat chimneys, and it looks like they had to remodel it. But this possibly was the first original house because you can see it right there, and either that or this one was one of the two was the original house. Okay, like I said, you can't make this up, and when you see it, it's you can't stop. Okay, Third Street. I'm going to cover all of this. No tree growth whatsoever at all. And just magically buildings just start popping up all over the place in record time with no construction. And here we go, an earlier picture before they built any of that stuff. And you can see the governor's mansion. You can still see this original homestead house. You can see the flour mill. And you can see a bunch of trees that have grown in yet. And we still ain't even to 1890. So how is it that these trees already, I mean, they had what, magic fucking miracle growth? I mean, seriously, people. I mean, look at that. And we still, like I said, you're still not even at 1900 yet. So when did all this shit fucking grow? And when did they build all of it? And like I said, when you understand it and you look at it, you're gonna really just shit your pants. Here's two pictures of the earliest one. I kind of blew them up so you can see the differences. You know, here they even added another cell house, turned this one down or tore it down, and then built another one, and then built another one right here. Right? It's absolutely insane what they did. And then you go back over to this picture, and they finally took all of this out, all the way up to the governor's mansion right there. And that's just it. City after city, we've been building prison after prison, enlarging them and making them more violent. It's disgusting what our system has done to us. Okay, the originals. They did square towers, and they came back and did round towers. Look at this. And then this school, I'll have to go through that school, and then you can see back here, there's either probably what would probably be a 4-story or 3-story building back there, which is really unique for Canyon City at this time. And then you can see all the stuff that they built in between this, and then tore it down, rebuilt, tore it down, rebuilt, and tore it down and rebuilt so many times. So how many times how many resets have we gone through? Because it would have been easy to reset it if we haven't got the automobile. And you control the post office, you control the information. Here's one later, like I said, the one of probably 1920, somewhere around there, because they did complete the rest of the wall. Governor's mansion's out. What possibly could look like a car is right there. But look at all of this. Magically just exploded with trees, buildings, and everything else. It's like trees magically grew over the night. And here's them finishing the wall, because you can come down in this picture and see it. You can see all the buildings and tree growth. So this is at least minimum 40 years. And they still haven't even built the governor. Oh, they did build it right here. They got the governor's mansion in, or what I keep calling it the governor's mansion. But then you can still see the old mill house that they had for flour. And look at the tree growth around this, around the, what I want to say, Rockers. Once again, I'm telling you, you go through these pictures. Here's the beginning of the Rockefeller's house. You can see where they planted some trees in the front, and there's absolutely nothing around this. And then you come over to this picture, and you see all of this. And they still haven't even completed the wall, so whenever the wall was completed at CSP is a marker in time. And when you really look at this, yeah. And I'm telling you, Canyon City is key. All of it is key. There you go. You can see the Rockefeller's house right there. And you come over to this one, you can see it. And the other thing is they did add to it. On the Rockefeller's house, if you look at it, they added this back half to it later on. No trees. There's an earlier one too of them. And that's what I mean. How many resets have we had? And then all the trees around the Rockefeller's house. And I believe there was a car in this one. No, no car. Horse. So who knows when this picture was taken, and you can obviously tell by the dress that this is well beginning of the century. The two lumber yards built same spot. One built with wood and then come back one with green. So this lumber yard probably was here by these tree growth just easily 20 years, 20, maybe 30 years. And then you can see right here where they've probably been here for 40 years. Look at the size of the trees now compared to the people. And you can see the tree growth, and they are the same trees. As you can see the 1, 2, and 3 branches, and then you come over to this one. See it? 1, 2, and 3. There's no denying it. And the other one is, look at all the wood sidewalk. And then you come back over here, they're still using wood sidewalks. So like I said, how many resets have we had? I had I can't remember this, hot spring, some sort. But this is an original picture of it. They're saying that this was like 1865. And then just like that, they built all of this massive stone, beautiful structures all over the place. And yet we have nothing to show for it left. They've destroyed it all. And this is what they built first. And this is what I want to tell you. Is a bunch of cowboys built this? I don't think so. They were doing this to please some woman. I'm telling you that right now. Because cowboys would have cared less if it looked like this. They would have just been, as long as it's wet, I'm good. Okay, I'm going to go through all of it. History. I mean, it's absolutely insanity. Main Street right here. Earliest pictures I can find of it. And now you got massive tree growth. And we still ain't even at the turn of the century. So I will wrap this video up, and I will continue on my quest to show the truth. Please like, share, whatever you need to do, because we need to move forward. And notice that they got round towers on top of it. It's fascinating how they hid history. It really is. And I hope you brothers and sisters see this, what I'm showing you, because it's pinnacle now. It's absolutely the turning point.